Hello everybody, this is Cheri at djsundry.blogspot.com and welcome to the first in a series of clean and simple cards that I am putting together for the year 2021. You know, some days you need a quick card, but you still want it to look really nice, but you just don't have time to put a lot of thought and detail in it. Well, that is the time to come up with this little clean and simple card. So if you always keep clean and simple card ideas in the back of your mind, you can quickly come up with something that's really adaptable to whatever occasion that you have it for. Other times you need to make a mass production of cards. Maybe it's Christmas, or maybe it's Thanksgiving or Valentine's, and you know you need to send out, I don't know, 20, 30, 50, 100 cards. So you need something that you can do quickly. Well, the techniques that we're going to show in this video can help you do that. And so let's just jump right in. I'm going to start by showing you the products that we're using tonight, and then we will make our first card. Now stick around to the end, because I'm going to take this clean and simple card and make it just a little bit less simple, but still really elegant and something that I hope will knock your socks off. So I do have some tacky glue here. For this particular card, I'm just using this Scotch Create permanent tacky glue. I found that it works really well because I'm using this butterfly impresslets, which is probably my favorite die / embossing folder right now. I just love it, and you'll see what a beautiful butterfly that makes. I'm also going to be using this 3D embossing folder, which is the lumber embossing folder from Tim Holtz. We'll talk about that in just a minute. Set that aside. I have this old stamp set from Close to My Heart. It's one of the ones, it's D1497 that they designed to go with their Art Philosophy Cricut cartridge. So I'm using that just for the happy birthday. Okay, so then to make my butterflies, and this is the first tip for clean and simple card, is have a stash of backgrounds. Now in this case, I keep this bin of backgrounds that sometimes when I'm just wanting to play, I'll make a bunch of jelly plate backgrounds and just play with that. I might have make a bunch of embossing folder backgrounds. I have a lot of alcohol ink backgrounds when I was playing with distress inks and sprays, or backgrounds for that. So I keep all of them here, and then when I need to make a card, I have a background. Whether I use it to die cut or whether I use it for a background, it's there, and I have a starting point. So I took that, and I took this embossing folder, and I had an alcohol ink background on U-Bowl paper, and I cut out this beautiful butterfly. You can kind of see the shimmeriness of the alcohol inks, but the embossed detail of the butterfly, it is just gorgeous. So I have that cut out, and we're going to set that aside. And then I have a piece of cardstock. It's just inexpensive, simple cardstock that I purchased. I think it's the Walmart brand cardstock. And I am going to do my stamping first. Now, I tried this out to see if it would work before I did this, and it worked really well. This brings me to step number 2 if you're doing an assembly line background, is have a stamping platform. Now this is the Tim Holtz platform, and it's not available in the United States unless you can get it off of eBay or somewhere. You might find them on Amazon, but for the most part they're not available in the States anymore, but there are other stamping platforms out there. But if you're making a bunch of them, as I did, I made 15 of these cards, and so I wanted to do it very quickly. And so if you set up your first stamp image and you have all of your bases cut the same, it goes very, very quickly. So this card base it's actually not going to be our base. I'm using something else. This is going to be our layer, and it is 4 inches by 5 1/4. So I am going to take this Distress archival ink. This is the black soot that matches the Distress black soot, and I have to tell you, and I know I'm not saying that right, it's black soot, but I have to tell you the black of this is fabulous. So I press it down, and I have my little handmade stamping buddy here, and I press it down, and this time I have a clean, good impression the very first time, which is really nice because I'm ready to move on to the next step. Now, I don't have time to clean my stamp right now, so that's why I have that extra one in. But you can see by doing that how quickly I could go through and make a bunch of cards. So that is tip number 2. So now I am ready to do the next step. And the next step is going to emboss this piece of paper. Now you might be thinking, isn't that going to make your stamping all wonky? It actually doesn't with this particular embossing folder. Yes, it makes it look a little bit like it's part of the background, but it didn't mess up the stamping. So I was super excited with that because that also saved me another couple steps and more layering down the road. So that was really nice. So now these 3D embossing folders, because they are 3D, they can very easily crack your paper when you run it through. So what I'm going to do before running it through is I'm just going to give this a quick spritz of water. I'm not going to get it super wet, just enough to dampen it. And I did it on the back side because I don't want to mess up my ink, because even though it's archival, I wouldn't want to take the chance to let it smear. So I'm going to just set it in my folder, and I will be right back because I'm going to run this through the Vagabond, and I will come back and we'll finish up the card. Okay, so we are back. We have our embossing folder all done, and there we have it. It really didn't bother the integrity of the sentiment at all. Isn't that nice? So normally what I would do, especially if I was making a bunch of these, I would just move on and go through the assembly line. I would stamp all of my sentiments after I cut my pages, and then I would emboss all of them. And then by then they would probably be close enough to being dry that I could go ahead and glue it down. But since I'm only making one and I don't feel really good about putting glue on damp paper, I'm just going to hit it with my heat tool. And so that I can move on. So now I have a card base here. These are just old White Daisy card bases that I have still left over from my Close to My Heart days. And this is where I'm going to take the glue to glue it down. Now I chose not to use my tape runner, which I normally use in card making, because it's got so much texture in this embossing folder that I don't know how well the tape would hold up, especially if I'm mailing it. So I put glue. Now you'll notice that I also put it in instead of closer to the edge. This glue is thick, but it also runs. And I learned in all the cards I was making that it kind of runs out and you don't, and it seeps out the edges. So I come in a little bit further so that when I press down for it to adhere, hopefully I got it far enough away that it won't seep out the edges. But if you do, and I did on many of the other cards, just go ahead and wipe it off. That's what I did. So there we have our card base and our sentiment. And believe it or not, we're almost done. Now we're going to take our butterfly, and I am going to put glue just right here on the body, and that's a little bit more glue than what I really wanted to. You say, well, that's not very much glue, that's not going to hold up well. Well, first of all, this glue is really strong, so I'm not too worried about that. But with all of, I put on some of the early ones I did, I put glue kind of in the channel of the body of the butterfly, but the way it's indented, that's really not going to adhere. So you want to be sure that you get at least some glue on either side of that middle so that it will adhere. Now I can tell that that's going to squirt right out, so I'm just going to remove some of that. I've got a baby wipe over here and kind of smooth that out, and that's going to be plenty. Now you might say, why aren't you gluing the whole thing down? Well, because I want movement with those wings. And I'll show you on some that have had a chance to dry what I mean by that. So there is our card. See how quick that was? When I say clean and simple, that was clean and simple. Now there's a lot that you could do to kind of pop that up and take it to the next level, and I'm going to show you some things that I did on some of the other cards to do that. But first I want to show you what I meant by allowing movement for the wings. So this is one of the cards that I did earlier, and if you can kind of hold down the bottle or the middle, and you can kind of fluff up those wings a little bit, and it just gives it that extra level of dimension. Now when you put it in your envelope, you're going to want to kind of make sure that you hold that down so that it doesn't catch on the envelope, but it's very easy then to pop it back up. Isn't that pretty? Let me show you some of the other colors. So there's lots of, I had a lot of blues and purple backgrounds. This is, I think, like a bottle background. Blue. Most of these that you're seeing here are alcohol ink backgrounds. In fact, I think all of these so far have been alcohol ink backgrounds. This is not. You might recognize that chalky look on this one. This one's actually a Distress Oxide background. Again, I can't tell you what the colors were because they were in my stash. I made them months, if not longer than that ago. Another gorgeous purple one. And look at those pinks. Oh, those pinks and reds. I can't believe how pretty of a butterfly that made. Another purple, another Distress Oxide. This one's kind of a fall butterfly, if there is such a thing. But I believe that this was Crackling Campfire and maybe Speckled Egg in there. Isn't that gorgeous? Another alcohol ink. This one is alcohol ink with some metallics alcohol inks in there. Look at that shimmer and shine. And then another Distress ink. So what about kicking it up a notch? I have all of these, but there's some things that you can do to add even more depth and interest, and that's what I did on the original card design. So on this one, and I don't think the camera picks it up really well, but the lumber Distress ink is separate from the sentiment. I honestly think I like this one better, but if you wanted that extra layer and a lot of extra steps, because basically you had to stamp your sentiment, cut your sentiment strip, and then I actually popped it up with foam tape. So there's a lot of extra steps for this, and honestly, I think I like the way this one looks better. Tell me what you think in the comments below. Which do you like better? The popped up one or the one that just blends into the background? Because not only was this one easier, but I think I like the look better. But on one thing that I did do differently on this one that I like as well is I have 3 extra layers of just plain white cardstock underneath that to really give it, no, 2 extra layers to really give it that extra dimension. And so that was one of the things that I did. Then also you can barely see there are gold splatters on the card, which was a lot of fun. And I could go back and splatter this, would be no problem. You could splatter it over the top. I actually chose to splatter it before I put the butterfly so that the butterfly wouldn't get splattered. But I used just this little gold watercolor, and then I used some white gouache watered down. And then on the inside, I also took another stamp from Tim Holtz and stamped the inside of the card in a matching color to the front. And so I made, I think, 8 with different ones of these, and I did that. And then finally what I did to kick it up a notch, which I definitely am not doing for the rest of these, but finally what I did is I took the Perspective Butterfly stamp and stamped half of it on the front of the envelope in something that was a close match to the original butterfly. Isn't that pretty? So you can go as clean and simple or a little bit more work, whichever you want, but you can still make beautiful cards. And honestly, it's about the love and the intent that goes behind the cards, as well as trying to make it beautiful. So both of them show that you loved and cared whoever you were sending this to. So I hope that encourages you to start an assembly line, make a bunch of clean and simple cards, and grow your stash. So thanks so much for stopping by today. And remember, take some time to enjoy the little things. Have a great day. Bye.